welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Money with Wendy Silebi. Today, my guest is Gerald, and he's the acting CEO of the South African Savings Institute, an author, a certified financial planner, and I think his bio is full. So I'm going to give him the opportunity to take us through his background, where he was born, and just tell us more about the work that he's done, that he has done. So one of the reasons why we're having this podcast is that July is National Savings Month, and so we want to talk all things savings. Well, hi, Gerald.
Always a pleasure and nice to have you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So I've just introduced you, as the acting CEO of the South African Savings Institute. Can you just maybe share with our viewers where you come from? Who is Gerald? Where were you born?
Okay, so I'm an African boy, born in Harare, Zimbabwe. Educated in Zim until 94, and then I left, went for university in the UK. And when I wanted to come home, there was no home to come to. The economy had pretty much fallen apart. Ended up staying in the UK for a good 10, 12 years. Came back to Africa in 2006 and settled in South Africa. And that's where I've been. I've been living here. And I think my main claim to fame is that when I talk finance, when I talk financial education, I talk a lived experience. I know about what it's like not to have. And I also know what it's like to have a lot. And I also know what it's like to waste and end up in a situation where you have to start managing things again. So that's the journey of money. And the overarching theme in all this is that no one taught me. No one sat me down. And if I had one thing I could do in my life is to talk to myself at 20 with what I know now. Because I would have changed my life and changed a lot of the decisions I've made. So that's why I have a passion specifically around financial education and money. And I think it's also something to do with my family. So my surname is Mwandiambira. Mwandiambira is Manyika. It means you have advised me, you have warned me. Okay, and it's one of the things I talk about, which is aligned to who we are in our spiritual walk, in terms of understanding your family bent, your family gift. And if I had to look back, all my uncles, all my grandparents, great-parents, they're teachers or they're pastors. Okay. So I did not know this until much later on in my life, but it aligns to what I do now, because our family gift is communication. It's teaching. It's being able to move someone from a position here and then you leave them in a better position. So it's important. It's one of the messages, one of the things I've done personally on videos as well, to say, understand your family. I know the West will say African ancestors don't help, they mean nothing. No. If your family was the catering family in the royal household, means maybe your gift is catering. If your family was the healers, understand your healers. If your family was Amabut, the soldiers, you must be looking for a career in security. Because when you align your family gift or ancestral calling in terms of your natural bloodline, you actually then can walk there. So I grew up saying, my dad then was a sound engineer. So he worked for the equivalent of the SABC in Zim. And I used to sit there after school and he'd be recording stuff and helping DJs. And I was like, these guys are poor. Yo, I ain't doing this, mom. I'm not going to be no DJ. They're struggling here, man, playing records. Yeah, I love music, because my gift of loving music came from sitting for hours listening to everything from classical to pop. But they were broke, Mom Wendy. I was like, you're right. Never. I'm going to grow up. I'm going to be an architect. And that's how I ended up in the UK. Initially, I started doing architecture. And I did architecture for about a year. Architecture and town planning. And then from there, I then started doing, I was a relationship manager for financial institution And for many years, I was just doing these jobs, you know, relationship manager, BDM, what. And then one day someone asked me, what's your gifting, Dad? What are you? And I was like, actually, you're right. Okay, let me do CFP. Because a certified financial planner talks everything about money. But then it finally brought alignment in that I now accepted my gift as a communicator. Okay. And then the last straw was when now I lost my job at Liberty, 2010. And I was unemployed. And I was at church. And, you know, there's nothing worse than a man trying to provide and having no resource. And one of the ladies at church was Thandi Gweba. She was the editor of Move magazine at the time. And I spoke to Thandi. And Thandi said, Gerald, you speak good English, man. Don't you? You're Zimbabwean. You speak good English. Can you write? I was like, of course I can write, man. Who can't write English? Then she says, okay, can you do a column for me every week? Then I started doing the Move column. And then when she moved to drum, I started doing drum. And then before you knew it, I looked at 200 articles on personal finance because I was talking money. And that's how I ended up with a book. Then I ended up with a TV show and a radio show. And then I was noticed by Abelungu who said, no, let's give you a financial planning business. That's a whole other story altogether. But that's my journey. But essentially, I'm a black child who had a dream. And I'm still trying to find the dream.
The dream, okay. So, I mean, you just mentioned that you have published some books. I've got one of Gerald's books in my hand. It's called Money, Imali Yako, Your Money, Your Health.
My money, my health, mari yangu, mi pesa yangu. Yes.
That's what it is, right?
And yes, and that book essentially was some of the articles which I had done at that point. Because the nice thing about each chapter here is normally that was a weekly article. So it's normally about 1,000 words. Okay. And the nice thing about it was written for black people. Move readers and Drum magazine were black females. So I was writing for that audience. So it's nice, it's simple, and it really talks to us in terms of understanding the fundamentals of Imali.
Okay.
I then moved on, and my other two books are called Our Money. And that's about business because I was unemployed. I never got employed again after Liberty, by the way. I became self-employed and then unemployed again. But essentially, it's about starting a business, what to look for, what to run away from, what works, what doesn't work. And then the last book, it's called Young Money. And Young Money was because I gave this book to my daughter and she's like, hey, Papa, this thing is too hard. So I toned it down. I put my cartoons. And it's a much easier read, and it's designed for someone from grade 7 growing up to basically understand Imali. But that's all I do. I still believe that we have a lot to learn as black people. And places like Sasi were natural places for me because with Sasi, again, I used to volunteer. And I don't even know how I ended up meeting Elizabeth. Elizabeth was the CEO of Sasi at the time, about 2014. And they were having an event, and I think I was there. I was a speaker. And then she said, I'm leaving. Do you want to do this? There's no salary. So don't get this whole CEO thing. There's no money. It's just a title. It's a ceremonial volunteer role. And then I started doing Savings Month, July. My first Savings Month was 2015. And I ran Savings Month till last year. And Sasi has evolved through that period. And the main evolution, Mwandiambira, is around the funding. In 2014, 2015, all I had to do was pick up the phone, call the old mutual or Nedbank and say, I need 100,000 for July. And it was not a conversation. By 2020, it was a different story because every financial institution realized the power of financial education in terms of it being a lever to increase business. So when they started investing internally, it meant that funding pool for someone like Sasi was greatly reduced. And that's why this is probably the last year of having Sasi as an entity. But I do believe I will start something to take it forward because Sasi was really around savings and investment. And it was Trevor Manuel's dream in 2001 when he saw Indonesia and Malaysia. And he said, how did these guys build an economy without Abelungu? No Britain, no USA. But they're built strong economies.
Yeah.
It was built on internal domestic saving.
Yeah.
So that's why SASSI came about. And then at the beginning of SASSI, had big sponsors. I think it's Citigroup,
who
threw in a lot of money. Carnegie, Rockefeller. It was American money at the beginning because they like talking money.
Yeah.
So then it grew, and we then got Old Mutual. So that thing they call the Old Mutual Savings and Investment Monitor, that started off with SASSI.
Yeah.
And then SASSI didn't have the resource. Old Mutual took it. They ran with it. Okay. Same thing with Teach Children to Save. We were with Citigroup and BASA. Again, SASSI didn't have the resources. BASA took it over. It's now Star Saver.
Star Saver, yeah.
So a lot of intellectual property in South Africa has a SASSI attachment or link in terms of how it's gone to market.
Yeah.
And that's really what SASSI is about. It's about advocacy in terms of representing consumers to government. So things like the tax-free savings. SASSI was very much involved with Treasury, government, private sector, and the banks. Advocacy, let's have something which makes it easy for people to save, which has no tax attachment to it. Financial literacy, that's now the main thing people know us for. And then the last thing was research.
Yeah.
And that's really something that I feel was not explored enough. We used to have the savings barometer. And every month we had a number which showed are we saving or not. And then there's a few savings indices since then. But I think South Africa is still weak on the research side because we don't have enough information on what makes us do what we do.
Exactly. Okay. No, thanks for that, Gerald. You know, I mean, I started working with SASSI as soon as the FSCA had made it, you know, that all banks must go out there in the deep rural communities to do consumer financial education. And that's how I got to get to work with SASSI. And I must say that, you know, the work that SASSI has done is commendable. In terms of that Teach Children to Save, I was there when it was launched, and now it's Star Saver. And maybe I just want to go back to an article that I read in the Business Tech, you know, where they say that the South African savings rate is sitting at a dismal 0.5%, you know. And they are also saying that, you know, South Africans are not saving, but actually they're depending on credit to survive month on month. And I think that's why we have this call, the July National Savings Month. Yeah. But now we find ourselves in a place where inflation is high, interest rates are high, food prices have gone high, but we're saying people must save.
I think the message has changed. I looked at the numbers the other day, and in terms of the savings rate, it actually improved quite a lot during COVID.
Yeah.
Because people were sitting at home.
Yeah.
So during COVID, I think the savings rate went up to about 3%.
Yeah.
It started to come down again into negative territory because people are going back into debt.
Yeah.
But it's one of the reasons why I think, you know, SASSI is being wound down and we need new entities. Because SASSI focused on savings and investment.
Right.
Now, one of the things they won't tell you is that savings and investment depend on income. Who gives us income? Umlungu, job. Okay? Yeah. So, there's an alignment. Savings and investment is dependent on you having a job which you have sent someone a CV to give you to earn money.
Yeah.
When unemployment comes, we're not equipped to save. We're not equipped to invest because you've taken away the income.
Yeah.
Which is why I feel the next wave of financial education should be centered on wealth creation, which is now around self-employment. You are unemployed, you will never get a job. Forget about it. Think how you can create a job for yourself.
Yeah.
And you've seen it. There's people who are collecting and recycling things. There's people who are going into collectibles. COVID taught us the power of social media.
Yeah.
People are on camera and they're making money just talking, being themselves.
Like us.
Like us. We are both unemployed.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we now need a new narrative which is around wealth creation. Because I think South Africa knows that they need to save. They know they need to invest. But we haven't given them the means to understand that they can create money out of nothing. If you, Mwandiambira, I gave you a piece of wood and you make a chair and you bought that piece of wood for 50 rand and you sell that chair for 200 rand, where did the 150 rand come from?
Yeah.
You made it.
Exactly.
Money is created.
Yeah.
Money is spoken into existence, which is why on the first chapter in the book, I tell you, you cannot be a money slave because money is a tool.
True.
So you need to make money work for you. And I think that's where we now need to take our youth.
Yeah.
To stop thinking that somebody is going to save us.
Somebody's going to rescue.
And that's a very colonial attitude where we were taught through Bantu education to be a house girl or a houseboy. Or the best job for a black person was doctor, teacher, or lawyer to keep your kind from going to prison. That's all. But now we need to be big dreamers. Why is it that the great inventors, Elon Musk, went out and he created Tesla, PayPal? Why? Because the Afrikaner attitude, the Afrikaner bloodline has always been focused on Voortrekker. I never learned to Afrikaans, but I know what Voortrekker means. Voortrekker means pioneer, a pioneering spirit.
Yeah.
I caught an aeroplane to Harare the other day. If you pick up News 24, they will tell you Harare, Zimbabwe is the worst place to go. That plane was 99% full of Afrikaners.
Right.
Where are they going?
To
They are
Zimbabwe.
Voortrekking. They are seeing opportunity before you see it.
Yeah.
Hence, we need to now be our own Voortrekkers with our own financial destiny as black people. And it's not about being taught to save and invest. Because I can't save and invest. I'm not interested. I want to do it when I have money. So let's talk wealth creation. Let's talk, Mwandiambira, did Ugogo have a gramophone in your house?
My grandmother.
Did you have a gramophone somewhere? Where is it?
I don't know.
Do you know that gramophone is worth 12,000?
Now, ne?
Yeah. Do you know that if you went to a car and said, I'm going door to door looking for my gramophone, I'll give you 500 rand, you'll have 50 gramophones in 2 days.
Yeah.
And you restore those gramophones and put them on eBay and sell them in the UK.
Yeah, so those are just opportunities that we can create for ourselves. And I think what you've just said resonates with the previous episode that we did with the youth, to say, you know, the youth unemployment rate is at its highest peak. And young people need to start thinking outside of the box to create wealth from themselves, and then they can kickstart their journeys, you know, of saving and investing.
The word employment, Mwandiambira, is it even necessary? Me, I challenge the book. I challenge the boundaries.
Yeah.
Who defines employment? An employer. Who says I need to be employed to be worth something? Because our problem with the youth having self-worth is because we have aligned your self-worth, your value, to someone else paying you month and chelet. Hence, when you don't have a job, you feel useless. We need to change that narrative to say employment is actually, for me, flip the script and say employment is a form of slavery.
Yeah.
And challenge me if you are not a slave to someone if you are employed.
Yeah.
Because if you're unemployed, I can wake up and decide to do nothing and be hungry. Or I can decide to wake up and go look for earthworms and say, I'm so hungry, I'm going to make an earthworm recipe because it's the only food I can afford.
Yeah.
That's what brings creation and allows us to create wealth. And I think that's where my heart is now in terms of saying, let's create wealth for ourselves. Let's break these narratives of you need to be employed.
Yeah.
Let's break these narratives that you need a business card to define who you are. Let's break these narratives which say black people were born to be poor.
Yeah.
No, they are black billionaires. I want to be one of them.
Yeah.
And the thing is, where you've worked and where I've worked as well, because I remember I also worked for Nedbank for a short period. I was sitting there with the executives. The life is good. The life is good, guys. You know, when you're a boss, it's a nice life. They eat well. They've got dining rooms. It's to finish those things for ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think You know, we want Black child to start dreaming of him doing something. And one of the biggest weaknesses which I always point out about South African youth is that our education system does not teach anything outside South Africa.
Yeah.
Therefore, when foreigners come, we are a problem. But no, we're not a problem. We're hungry when you come here. We're looking for opportunity.
Yeah.
But because your system has not taught the youth how to see opportunity around themselves, when a foreigner opens his spaza shop in your community, like, but how?
Yeah.
But every day when you've been going to buy bread, where did you think the bread comes from? So we need to get those things back up. We need to get that entrepreneurial spirit. And I like the way you spoke about books, because books are so important to empowerment. Every movie you've watched where there's a wealthy person in a mansion, they have an office and they are surrounded by books.
Yeah. 67% of you watching this podcast haven't subscribed as yet. I must say we've made some progress. We've come down a bit, and I'd love for you to even take us lower than this 67% by subscribing. There's a little bell on the right-hand side. Click on it and you're subscribed, and that will help you not miss any of the upcoming podcasts.
It's important to save when you're young because of a financial planning formula called the time value of money.
Yeah.
The time value of money simply says that money saved now grows over time. And by saving money now, yes, you're losing out on an opportunity cost now, but you're creating one in the future. And everybody who's ever created wealth has needed time. Money is not lotto. Sports bet, it's not that. No. Money is about I put X amount every day, and over time it catches up. And if you look at the time value of money and the formula of compounding, it normally takes about 15 to 20 years for money to start reaching that space where it starts doubling.
Yeah.
Double.
Yeah.
I understanding like Pastor Bushiri. Double. Yeah, double. Okay? No, problem with us is if I told you, Mama Wendy, when you're 20, Kuti, start saving now, but you're only going to really start seeing the power of compounding when you're 45.
Yeah.
It's such a long time away.
Yeah.
But time moves.
Yeah.
Everyone remembers the opening ceremony of the World Cup 2010. It was 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Had you started saving money during that time, I would say you'd probably need another 4 or 5 years till you reach the power of magic compounding, where your money literally is making more interest than you're putting in.
Yeah.
That's what we want to do. You want to save and invest so that you create another version of you. So had I started doing what I say when I was 20, you'd be talking to 3 Geralds.
Yeah.
One who's a savings and investment here, one who's a property, one who's there'll be many of me making money.
Yeah.
But because I didn't, I'm sitting here and there's one of me. So creating different versions of you who create the I word. It's not I as an ego. I as an income.
Yeah.
Every young person must understand the most important I word in your life is income.
Yeah.
Before you marry,
income.
Before you have a child, income. Before you decide to buy alcohol, income. Yeah. So we need to start getting those words into our youth, because then I creates income which can go and be put in and vest. Vest is time. It's exactly what you started with. Time value of money. You put in money, it vests, and then it returns.
Yeah.
So that's why saving and investment is important. We need to plant the seed, and then it harvests. It vests, then it returns, and then the cycle continues over and over again. And too few of us have got that experience of knowing that the power of I and compounding. And compounding, you know, these are fundamentals which we need even 6-year-olds to understand that what's my income, you know. And even when you're in business, before you make a business decision of I'm going to buy Undertaker business, there's only one question you ask: what is the income?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, most of us confuse income with turnover, with profit. No. Income is the residual. What is the thing I get out of doing what I am doing?
Yeah.
And this is why a lot of people are frustrated going to work. Because people have started understanding that their income is not sufficient for their lifestyle.
Yeah.
In terms of real income, South Africans are earning less in 2023 than they were earning in 2018.
Yeah.
Because of inflation. Because of COVID, because of the rand devaluation, and all of this has affected people going to work.
Yeah.
Hence, I've met people who are saying, I'm going to work for transport money.
Yeah.
Literally. And then at that point, when your income is no longer sufficient, then you start doing what they call side hustles. Again, I don't like the word side hustle because it was created by the same people who created the word employee. There's no such thing as a side hustle. 1 rand made from selling my earthworms to fishermen is the same as 1 rand in a suit at Nedbank or at Old Mutual or at any fancy building where you work with a suit and a tie and a high heel and you think you've got power. Trust me, 1 rand is 1 rand. Whether I'm digging it out of the ground or I'm writing it in a fancy office. So stop calling it a side income, because when you call it a side hustle, you're disrespecting that money. Hence, it doesn't grow.
Because it's a hustle.
It's a side. Side chick. Side husband.
Okay.
Side meal. It's not serious.
Yeah, but anyway, just coming back to that, you've just made a statement that, a lot of people are going to work and all they are able to afford is the transport money. Therefore, it becomes important for us to start thinking outside of the box and starting something that will actually help us bring in money. Look, if you think about it, the Garden of Eden had many rivers, right, that were watering. So one from the east, one from the north, one from the west. So that also says we need to have multiple
income
streams.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think, Mama Wendy, before everyone who's got a job goes and quits because they heard us talking, the job is the most powerful thing you have. Because through that income, whether it's a lot or not, you're getting seed capital.
Yeah.
You're getting something which you can use to create.
Start something.
It's worse when you don't have a job at all, So everyone in a job, if you are frustrated, all I'm saying is start thinking of the other 24 hours in a day, the other 16 hours of the day, which you haven't sold. Because when you are going to work, you've sold them 8 hours.
8 hours, yeah.
But you've got 16 left over. The other 16, don't sleep. Think, how can I generate an income? And it always starts small. Because sometimes, when we're saving and we're investing, we're carrying guilt of knowing I should have started at 20.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm going to start saving 5,000 a month. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Start with 100 rand. And I think I'm a personal testimony to that, because when I was unemployed, I became a dreamer, a tenderpreneur, always looking for that $7 billion deal. Never came. Until someone sat me down and said, Gerald, you're a husband and a father. And I believe you can make your millions in time. But can you show your wife you can make 100 rand a day? Changed my life.
Yeah.
Because it taught me to humble myself. I then had to go to Thandi, and she was paying me 1 rand a word for those Move articles. So those Move articles were paying me 3,000-4,000 a month. It wasn't a lot of money.
But it was
the start of respecting 1 rand.
Yeah.
Each word I wrote suddenly had value. Okay, so therefore, even if you hold that book of mine, it's 65,000 words. So for me, it's about understanding that money also goes hand in hand with humility.
Yeah.
You need to respect it. If you don't respect it, it will disrespect you.
That's so true.
Hence, a lot of people who are working, who can't explain where their money goes, it's because they're not respecting it. They're not budgeting. July savings month. Start with the budget.
Yeah.
Know where it's going. How can I respect money when the last time I looked at my bank statement, you don't remember? When was the last time you went line for line and said, okay, this, that? You know, I saw the other day, I was looking at my bank statement, like 205 rand bank charges. Like, yo!
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know? And it's about that kind of respect and intimacy with your money where you talk to it. And you say, you know, money, okay, this bank account is a bit too expensive. Let's go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when you respect 1 rand, you can make 2 rand and 3 rand and 4 rand. And you're right. So it's that Garden of Eden where we're saying July Savings Month is about going back to basics. And I think that's the theme I gave this year's Savings Month, because it's probably the last one for Sasi.
Yeah.
And the theme this year is back to basics. And by back to basics, it means go back to the mirror, go back to the budget, go back to understanding why you do what you do. Back to basics, go back to the stokvel.
Yeah.
That thing you said is useless. No, go back.
Yeah.
Back to basics, because mama did it, and it's the only way some families are surviving.
Yeah.
Back to basics in terms of you understanding that it starts with 1 rand, and then we build and go forward. So it's really about that. That's our theme for this year, to say Savings Month, even though it's probably Sasi's last year, let's go back to basics and start from there. And from the basics, we can now change the narrative, because I do believe that, you know, when you go back to basics, it all starts with the budget. But even beyond the budget, it starts with your income.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I think in almost every episode, somehow the budget comes in. And I think a budget is a pain point for a lot of people, because they know they must do it, but they don't do it. I do my budget exactly the way that you have your book and a pen there. I don't use these fancy programs. I write down, like you were saying. Then when you are writing down, whatever you're writing starts communicating with you and really giving you, you know, feedback, whether you are on track or you are off track. And I love the theme of going back to basics, because the basics are the budget. The basics, I mean, your foundation to wealth creation starts with saving. So when you go back to basics and you go back to saving, then you're on the right track. And I mean, there's a myth out there by people to say, no, I don't have enough money to start saving. And I say to people, you can start saving with a minimum of 50 rand. At the end of the year, you're not the same as where you started.
Look, it's what you said.
Yeah.
You can't say I earn too little to save. You're earning.
Yeah.
You can't say I am on the government grant, I can't save. You can save. And I think it's also that narrative why I believe we need to expand what savings and investment is. And I tried it I think in 2015, Savings Month, where I tried to send a message that saving is not about just money. So we need to realize that saving is also about behavior. Saving is about when you're cooking 3 cups of rice, put 2. Saving is about understanding that when you squeeze too much toothpaste, put a little less. Saving is about your entire lifestyle in terms of, I don't need to drive this fast because the robot is still going to stop me.
Yeah.
So I can drive a bit more frugal. So it's about understanding that your entire life can be a way of saving. And I think that's why also going back to basics is important. Back to basics is about a pen, it's about a paper. When you go into the shop, have a shopping list. And I do the shopping list because my children are watching me. So that they know that when we go to the shop and they say they want something and I say,
where is it here?
They understand that it's a planned behavior. And then now we're also teaching our children to save.
Exactly.
So back to basics is about doing that. And if you're someone who doesn't like writing pen and paper old school like us, use your app. But basics is about knowing what's going on around you. And I think basics is where we are lost, a lot of us.
Yeah.
A lot of us have become people who just look at SMSs on our phone. of what happened.
It's gone.
It's gone. On the 3rd of the month.
No control.
I remember doing an interview and someone calling in and saying they hate month end because around 3 a.m. on the 1st of the month, and you think it's money coming into your account and it's all the debit orders.
Going out.
So back to basics is about saying, let's go back to our fundamentals. How do we live in terms of where can we save money? And yes, dieting is a form of saving. Losing weight it's a form of saving. Hey, man, I can say I'm losing weight. I'm not the same as I was in January. Because those 20 kgs or 10 kgs that's gone, it's saving me money because I've eaten less. So we need to just go back to all those basics to understand how can we save in our lives. Because the unfortunate part is you can't start investing until you've started saved.
Exactly.
It's like a sandwich. You can't start making a sandwich without the bread.
Exactly.
The bread is the savings. The investment is the lettuce, it's the cheese, it's the polony, it's whatever you want to put. But fundamentally, if you have not saved, you should and have no business investing, which is another myth. A lot of people think the shortcut to saving is just go straight to investing. Because now what happens is you then go and invest and then life happens. And when that money comes back, it hasn't been given time. Therefore, it's less. Then you say, hey, this system is witchcraft, doesn't work. No. It works.
It works.
It works. And that's one of the other messages I always say. Don't try reinventing the wheel. Do as they do. And that's why, like, if you look at my own podcast and my videos, I call them what they don't want you to know about money. And I always say, ask yourself, who is they? And we always like blaming Mama Wendy, George, Mr. Van der Merwe. No. Sometimes they is you. You are the same person who's stopping yourself from understanding money because you've made it about everyone else.
Except yourself.
And when you start with basics, you start with?
Yourself. Okay. I like that. I really, really like that. That savings is the building block. It's the first, just like you make a house. When you build a house, the first and most important thing that will carry the house, the solid weight of that house is the foundation. And what you put in the foundation will strengthen what you are building. So, in terms of people wanting to be rich, they want to get rich quickly, they go into these schemes, these scams, because they're avoiding going back to the basics of savings. And I mean, savings can be made easy. I was reading this book, Nudge, where they talk about how you can set recurring debit orders. And those are automated savings. Those are basics, So if you decide that I'm going to save 100 rand, then you put an automatic stop order. It comes out on the day that you get paid. It goes off with the others that are going your saving is done, and then you inculcate that culture. And then when you've built enough foundation with your savings, you are able to move from savings to investing.
Indeed, automated saving is important. Yes. Just like most people who are working who say they can't save. If I told you that every month SARS is taking 23% of your money or more, yet you have never complained, not once have you toyed and even been angry. So it can be done. And all you do is you automate it. And most bank accounts have savings pockets and all sorts of things which allow you to save automatically. But it's the foundation. And the thing about saving is, if just like a house foundation, you don't see it when the house is there. So when people now see success, they are seeing where you live, how you live, but they don't see the foundation.
Exactly.
They don't see the basics where you could have gone and bought Streetwise 2 for 49 rand, but you saved. They don't see that part. They don't see the sacrifice. So I always say, you need sacrifice, commitment, and discipline to save and invest. Sacrifice because I could eat that money today. It's mine. I can eat it. But I have to sacrifice. Commitment means I have to do it over and over again. I commit. I am going to do this. I hate budgeting. I won't lie to you. I hate it. I've got books on money. I hate budgeting. But I found a system which works for me, which is my wife. She will call me and tell me, we're not spending a cent until you've come to sit down and we've done the budget. And I will go like a child. I will be like a child and I'm angry. But it's the same money every month. But you go through that commitment and the discipline of repeating the action. And the thing about it, every repeated action becomes a habit. And a habit becomes part of your character. And that's how you build. So this savings month, back to basics. If you're struggling with just a sacrifice, take Coca-Cola or soft drink can, put 2 rand. Just go to basics. Basics is about saying, okay, you find it hard to save. Don't carry coins anymore. Whenever you have a coin at the end of the day, put it in there. Put it in a money box. Basics about seeing the money again. It's about, also remembering basics. Your children are watching you.
Exactly.
It's very hard for you to tell your child to save
when they don't see you doing
it.
Yeah, one of the things, I was speaking to one of the behavioral economists, and she was saying that, to introduce savings to our children so that they see that we're all doing it. We can literally have jars that we put in the house and we label them, and you just plonk in a little in that jar, as they see it growing, then they realize that if you put money in a jar, then it begins to grow. So basically, if I put money in a savings account, that's exactly what's going to happen.
I think so. I think, back to basics is about having that competition. Mama, Papa, child A, child B. Who can save the most? Identical jars. The only rule of this thing is that either we're doing brown coins or we're doing silver coins. Let's see who can win. At the end of the year, whoever has the most in their jar gets all the others. Exactly.
That's
and it's the same thing.
Incentive.
Yes. And that's even in my book. I've got a chapter on the money boxes, and I say every child needs 4 money boxes. One money box, you need to tell the child, whatever is in this box, on your birthday, I'm going to come and I'll double it. Okay. In the second box, you tell your child, whatever you want, label it. Start saving towards it. In the third jar, I always say, this one is for the needy. At Christmas, we give it to someone else who's in need. And then the fourth jar, I always say, this one you take to church. And this is your tithe. Okay. First jar, I double it every birthday. You've taught your child investment.
Exactly.
That when you put in money and you don't eat it, you let it vest. When you go and collect it, it grows.
Exactly.
So your child now understands why they invest. Because when they go back, it's going to grow. So you doubling that money, you're the super bank. You're the super investment.
Exactly.
The second jar, you're saving for what you want. You're teaching your child basic savings for emergencies, and knowing that saving has a goal. You don't just save in chair. No. It's for a goal. You want a bicycle. You want something. So you teach your child the principle that when they want to go on holiday, they start saving. And they know, I'm going to get that money for the holiday. Third one, giving. If you can't give, you can't appreciate how much you have. Hence, there are some people who have it all, but they're miserable.
They've been baptized in lemon juice.
Yes. But until the day they start giving, and someone comes and says, thank you. You made my day. Even when you don't have, it starts to give you worth. You start to realize God has blessed me. Okay? And then the last one is about God himself. Whether you are doing Amadlozi or you are a Jew or you are a Christian or you are a Hindu, basically the higher power, God, instructs us to give back to him. And again, it's a principle. I am not going to argue Bible principle. All I'll tell you is that the richest people in the world, ironically, are the biggest givers. It's not an accident. It's not an accident because you need to release for your hand to be empty and be refilled.
Exactly.
Now, if you're hogging, You move like this forever.
Yeah.
And this is all you'll ever have.
Tight-fisted, yeah.
Until I do this, and then I get a bigger portion.
That's true. There you have it. We have to go back to basics. We have to teach our kids in a very simple manner how to save, how to set goals, the power of compounding interest, because in those jars, when they see the money doubling up, that's how they see that, when you put money, you earn interest, and then you earn interest upon interest. And really, I just want to say to everyone watching that this year, let's go back to basics. It's July. We have 6 more months to go. So you can actually be intentional in the last 6 years, 6 months of the year, to say between July and December, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to introduce this with my kids. We're going to do a bit of savings, and we're going to make it fun. And let's see what we have done in December. And
I think the last basic point we need to talk is about money is about yourself.
Yeah.
Shunamite spirit. It's not for you to tell social media what you're doing between now and December. It's about going back to basics, that when you take a shower and you take a bath, you're on your own.
Yep.
Basics is about starting on your own.
Yeah.
So one of the problems we have is we like to invite everybody
to join us. Yeah.
When you go back to basics, it's about imali yami, chelete yaka, mari yangu, ni pesa yami. Start with yourself.
Yeah.
So whatever you do, let this be the first day of your life in your journey, understanding a better relationship with money. Just like in the aeroplane, I always say, it says, don't help anyone until you've put on your own
mask first.
So before you start preaching and wanting to help the whole world, put your own mask on first. And it's one of the things I said personally on my What They Don't Want You to Know About Money. 2023, put your mask on first.
Wow.
Because we are too busy wanting to commentate. Meanwhile, you have not gone back to basics. So go back to basics, start doing the fundamentals.
Awesome. What Gerald is saying is that I also need to introspect and check whether I've gone back to basics. You need to introspect, go back to basics. Let's all go back to basics. It is possible to start saving, to start investing, but we just need to go to the basics of financial wealth creation, starting with the budget, avoiding to have too much credit, getting into too much debt, and then we're good to go on our way to succeeding. So, Gerald, this is the part of the podcast where I ask my guests to just drop a last nugget. We call it a seed of wisdom, just as a final that people will remember. I mean, you've said so many already, but just that one last, seed that you'd like to leave. You know that when we plant a seed, it will grow and germinate.
I think my one nugget is find yourself a money mentor or a wealth mentor. Take advice from someone who's older, who's walked the journey. So find an aunt, find an uncle, find a brother, find a sister who's older than you. And they don't need to be rich, but find someone who's more mature than you to talk to you about money.
Sure.
Because sometimes even someone who is less than you can tell you about mistakes. Someone who is more than you can tell you about how to get there. But let's not disrespect wisdom from our elders. So one of the things I would say is find yourself a money elder, somebody who is going to help you with your money journey. And when you listen to your elder, you do what they say. It's not about challenging them. If they say this works, trust it.
Yeah.
And trust it because the system ultimately works.
Wow, that is power right there. I think all of us need somebody to walk this journey with us, this investing, this wealth creation journey. Go out there and find someone that can coach you, that can give you, the wisdom that they have amassed over the years. And then start your journey. Let's go back to basics. And this brings us to the end of this podcast. I'd like to ask each and every one of you that are watching, please subscribe so that you don't miss any of these episodes. There's a little bell on the right-hand side. Click on it and you are subscribed. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time.